Good morning viewers, welcome to this NPTEL course on education literacy. So, in the last class we are discussing about new pedagogy and deep learning approach. So, today we will be discussing about innovative pedagogy and technology for learning. How innovative pedagogy and technology help us in enhancing our learning and teaching behavior. So, the last class we are discussing about now new pedagogy, how it advocates for deep learning and what are the deep learning skills, and we should develop among our students, and what should be the deep learning goals, and how technology can integrate and enhance the teaching learning effectiveness through connecting it to the open source of learning materials, and to facilitating the learning communities in achieving their deep learning goals, etc. So, in that continuation we can discuss it further, like the 21st century is knowledge based economy. Now in this present world, in post globalized world, we are living in a 21st century knowledge society, which gives utmost importance to knowledge, sharing the knowledge, gaining knowledge, then using the knowledge for solving social problems. So, that is why it is called that is knowledge based society, and the economy is also primarily based on this 21st century knowledge, skills and technology enhanced learning. So, for what reasons? For bringing the transformational innovation in education, not only in the field of education, for bringing the transformation in the society as well, in the community as well, in the different kinds of resources as well. So, how to bring the transformation in education or in society through different kinds of 21st century skills and knowledge and attitude, like our education system should primarily focus on developing, nurturing the 21st century skills among the students, through which? Through the curricula. So, we need to update our curricula in a such a way that it emphasizes on developing 21st century knowledge, skills and right attitude for the different kinds of the jobs. Hence, we need a 21st century knowledge based curricula. Similarly, we need also that knowledge based pedagogy, that is technology enhanced and knowledge based, like the techno based and learner centered pedagogy also. The third requirement is innovative assessment tool. Again, we also need a lot of innovative assessment tools and techniques and methodologies to evaluate the students' performance, to assess the learning outcomes, to understand their problem, to diagnose their problem, and to provide them the different kinds of intervention in helping them to facilitate learning and enabling their capacities and the capabilities. So, 21st century knowledge based economy, 21st century knowledge based society, it emphasizes on developing the curricula, developing the right pedagogy, developing the different assessment tools which can empower the students, which can enhance their learning performance and abilities, and in this process, in the process of education, we can develop different kinds of skills, attitudes, knowledge required for the 21st century jobs, required for the 21st century knowledge based business, knowledge based economy, etc. So, the new paradigms of education not only advocates for no child left behind, at the same time the new paradigm, the new pedagogy, it advocates that no child should be left behind. So, we have to adopt, we have to apply multiple approaches, multiple techniques, we have to use ICT enabled pedagogy, we have to provide him enormous resources, whatever method, technology, pedagogy and resources we want to use, we can do it, but no child should be left behind. So, the new paradigm of education, it emphasizes on the no child left behind act, as well as recommends and advocates for more customized form of learning, that is the learning should be more personalized in case of each and every individual child for catering to his or her needs. So, we are advocating for 21st century pedagogy curricula which is up to date and which develops the 21st century knowledge, skills, aptitudes, attitudes among the students, which also advocates for the learner centered, child centered, student centered curricula, and technology should be there to enhance and facilitate the learning process, that is using the ICT or techno based pedagogy, or you can say the e-learning platforms are also being suggested, but at the same time we need to personalize the whole learning experience for each and every learner. So, here it advocates we have to design a new curricular framework, new paradigm of education, which advocates not only for the 21st century skill based curricula, but learner centered pedagogy, technology assistance, technology enabled pedagogy, and open source of learning, innovative assessment tools. At the same time, the whole learning experiences should be more personalized and customized according to the learner's needs, learner's requirements. Hence, we can ensure that the quality of education has been provided to each and every child in the country, in the world. So, quality education, ultimately our goal is that how to provide quality education to all. So, in this context, so we will be discussing about various techniques, innovative pedagogical techniques, strategies, and as well as the technology being used for the pedagogy. So, we will be discussing some of these things, some of these pedagogical practices, technology enhanced learning platforms that we are using or we can be using for enhancing the effectiveness of our whole teaching learning process and the programs. So, one such approach is, first is the scaffolding. Scaffolding is actually gradually unfolding the whole skill, subtask, knowledge, abilities, etc. So, scaffolding is such a technique which advocates that the tutor can help the learners bridge from their current knowledge to more sophisticated practices and skills. So, as a matter of learning goals, as a matter of learning objectives or expected learning outcomes, when we design a course or module, etc., like the students are expected to learn certain level of skills, knowledge, attitude or abilities, etc. So, that is the expected criteria, learning outcomes. Now, how to achieve those things? So, in order to help the children, help the students to learn that level of that criteria of learning and performance, they need to go through a process, an inductive process, a sequential process, and in that process, teaching learning process, how the tutor can help them in gradually unfolding new skills, new practices, new knowledge, etc., and how to gradually acquire it, learn it, so that he can demonstrate that level of performance at the end. So, the tutor can help the learners bridge from their current knowledge, that means how to fill up those gap of bridging the gap between the current knowledge, existing knowledge, and the criteria knowledge or the expected knowledge and the skills. So, learners need to acquire a set of relevant actions and the proficiency. So, as a matter of learning goals, or the learners, the students, they are expected to acquire certain level of proficiency, in their disciplinary knowledge, in the certain level of relevant skills, knowledge, performances, etc., according to the criterion level set for them for a particular level of educations. They are required to acquire those set of skills, knowledge, and proficiency. So, the tutor first models the behavior and actions, gradually leading towards the acquisition of complex required skill sets. So, in scaffolding what happens, like the coach, the tutor first demonstrates, first models the behavior which the learners, the students are expected to learn and perform at the as a future learning outcome. So, the tutor first models the behavior, he himself demonstrates it and explains how to acquire those skills and performance gradually, leading towards enhancing the performance and acquisition of complex skill sets. So, how the skills can be improved in a sequential way, in an inductive way, and how to achieve the mastery over the skills in the future learning course or as a consequence of the teaching learning program. So, again in scaffolding, the learners work on the real world context. So, it is better if the tutor, if the coach demonstrates it in the real life situation, real life context, because that will motivate in developing the sub skills, requisite knowledge and applying this for the solving the real world problem. So, even if in the classroom situation the tutor demonstrates, but he needs to apply it, model it in the real world context, because when the students, they will be observing these things, learning those things in the real world context, they will be more motivated to find out a solution for the social problems, real world problems, and they can apply, directly apply their acquired knowledge in the real world context in solving the problems. So, their application knowledge, their analytical thinking, their application knowledge will be enhanced in the real world context when the tutor demonstrates it. So, the tutor's guidance is embedded in the context to support the learner's understanding and mastery of required skills. So, the teacher's guidance is embedded, it is being demonstrated in a particular social context, real life situation, to support the learner's understanding, so that the learner can better understand how in the process of application of this knowledge, what are the other factors that emerge, what is the like appropriate strategy, appropriate steps, appropriate strategies for applying those knowledge in the real world context, and what are the outcomes, what are the subsequent consequences, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. So, they can themselves really evaluate the outcome, the results of those applications, those implications of knowledge in the real world context, and in that context they can also instantly grasp the required sub skills to immediately resolve the issues, immediately resolve the conflicts, any kind of problems. So, gradually again withdrawn as the learner become independent and self reliant. So, after demonstrating, after modeling the behavior embedded in a particular context, real world context, when the learner has adopted himself in the real world context, he has well integrated and applied his knowledge and skills for solving the real world problems. Now, the moment the tutor feels that now the learner has really gained the desired knowledge and acquired the skills and aptitude, etc., now he is independent, he can lead all alone. So, now the tutor gradually withdraws his supports, withdraws his guidance to make him more independent and self sufficient, self reliant. So, there are different benefits of scaffolding. So, scaffolding is that, and in essence is that gradually unfolding the skills, sub skills, knowledge required for a particular problem solving situation, or required for solving different kind of real world problems, and how to, that means after demonstrating it, how to empower the learner to himself learn those skills, sub skills, practice it, apply it in the real world context, and enabling him or making him self reliant in dealing with the future such situations. So, there are certain benefits of scaffolding, using scaffolding as a learning tool or the technique in pedagogy, like through sense making, articulation and reflection. So, managing the investigation and problem solving processes, scaffolding can transform the task more productive for learning. So, in this process the tutor demonstrates, models the behavior embedded in the learning in a real world situation. The learner gradually grasps or learns the new skills, sub skills, gradually learn how to solve the problem, acquire the new skills, practice it, have the mastery over the skills, gradually apply those things, apply those knowledge and skills in the real world situation. So, in this whole process, in this learning process, what happens, very often the learner uses a kind of articulation, spelling out, articulating the what happens, what didn't happen, why it has not happened, and why the things have been different, all these kinds of why, how, when, etc., all this, making sense out of different kinds of applying certain things in different situations. So, sense making, articulation, reflection, he also reflects upon his own practice, behavior and approaches again and again, and managing the investigation and problem solving process. totally managing all the resources and the processes, the mechanisms that takes place within the embedded context, how to solve it, etc. So, in all this process it enables, it helps the learner to that means to use, to apply his own knowledge, skills for enhancing his own practices, own performances and understanding understanding. So, and to deal with the to better deal with the real life situations, and can transform the task to be more productive for learning. So, in this whole process, learning process, I can say practical experience, scaffolding helps a lot. Scaffolding simplifies the elements of the task, so they are within the reach of the learner. So, suppose in the beginning it appears to be very complex, very difficult, very tough, but gradually while demonstrating or modeling the behavior, the tutor can help the learner, or through scaffolding can help the learner to break those complex tasks into sub tasks or more simpler tasks. So, it will be easier for the learner to gradually grasp and acquire each and every sub skills. It can manage the process so that the learners can engage in elements of the disciplinary work in the real world, real problem context. It can manage the process that the learners can engage in the elements of the disciplinary. So, it's suppose if it is related to the learner's own discipline, basic discipline in his subject domain, so he can better understand how to manage those disciplinary elements, and through these knowledge and skills, through the disciplinary knowledge, subject domain knowledge and the skills, how he can resolve some of the real world problems. So, it can also offset the frustration and risk and maintain the interest through balancing the learner's participation and confidence building. So, as it involves the real world problem solving situation, as it is embedded in the real world context, hence it you can say it offsets the frustrations, like that means the learner becomes more motivated, more engaged, as he feels like, I'm doing something practical, something concrete, something feasible, something usable, like which will be beneficial for the society, for my community. Hence, there will be less chance of getting frustrated or demotivated or getting bored or upset, and in this process he maintains his interest and also balance his participation with the progress, and in this process he acquires the confidence, he builds of his confidence. So, scaffolding can also prompt the learners to explain, reflect, articulate their ideas in the process of problem solving. So, it is, even though he moves gradually onwards in an inductive way, through an inductive approach of gradually acquiring the sub skills, gradually covering the tasks and slowly applying and observing in the real world situation. So, very often he retrospect, he comes back, reflect upon his own activity, behavior, approach, thinks again, come back again. So, in this way he just moves back and forth for reflecting, for analyzing, for modifying, for regenerating the new ideas and again experimenting on this. So, it helps them a lot in explaining, reflecting, articulating that why he has not done something in the past and now he is changing his own strategy. So, it helps him in all kinds of active thinking, in reflecting, explaining and articulating the whole process of problem solving. So, next similarly it can enable the learning by doing. Again it is an experiential learning, it is an active learning by doing, learning the component skills and how to coordinate and integrate these for accomplishing the complex disciplinary goals. So, whatever he has done, the smaller tasks, the less complex tasks he has already done, he has already experimented it in the real life context, that can boost his confidence, that can boost his knowledge, and that can further enhance his understanding of how to integrate these real life experiences with his domain knowledge, with his disciplinary knowledge for solving the higher level of complex learning problems or the disciplinary goals. So, the next approach is like scaffolding is one such technique we often very often use it primarily in the more technical subjects, in the more practical subjects like in engineering or in medical science or in you can say the technical the field, all the field related jobs, so like in agriculture or in engineering, all kinds of things. So, this is a kind where we need to develop multiple skills and practices and proficiency for doing something, for demonstrating something, for experimenting in the real life situations. So, another such approach is the metacognition. Metacognition is like metacognition, like thinking about thinking, or cognition about our own understanding and cognition. So, metacognition is again another such pedagogical technique approach that we very often use it, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously also you use it, but we need to emphasize on it, focus on it and explicitly articulate these things. So, metacognition is the cognition where the information on which a learner operates describes the features of the cognition. So, the cognition about cognition or the cognitive strategies. Suppose we are trying to solve a problem. Okay. So, the problem problem is the content of our thought right now. Okay. So, how to solve the problem, particular problem, now we are focused on that. So, the problem itself is the content, is the topic of our cognition. Like while trying to solve that problem, by adopting different approaches, by adopting different formulas, we actively think, apply, we formulate different kinds of hypotheses, try to verify it, etc. That means, we are actively engaged in solving that problem, that is our content. That means, it is the cognitive process, the cognition is going on, because we are focusing on how to solve the problem and that is our content. So, we are already engaged in some kind of cognitive activity, that is the cognition. But when we retrospect about it, when we evaluate it, whether this approach is right or not, that approach is right or wrong, or whether whatever I have done was correct or not. So, when we retrospect on all these things, re-evaluate the efficacy of our adopted strategies, that is called the metacognition. So, when we come back or retrospectively we reanalyze the applied strategies, we reflect upon this, we re-evaluate it and we modify it. That means, we evaluate our own cognitive process to verify its efficacy, to verify its effectiveness, and if it is required, that means we can change, you can modify the whole thing again. So, that is we are evaluating our own cognitive process, that is metacognitive process, that knowing about, understanding, evaluating our own cognitive process. So, that is called the metacognition, that is cognition about the cognitive processes. When we are reflecting on how we are doing the whole thing, then it is called the metacognition process. So, it can occur before the cognitive event or can occur after the cognitive event retrospectively or simultaneously to evaluate and engage in the forward reaching transfer. Like when we are engaged in solving that problem, when the cognition is going on, this metacognition can also take place. It can also take place after the event, like after we have completed one form of problem solving behavior, one part of the experimentation or one part of hypothesis testing. It can take place retrospectively, it can take place simultaneously while we are engaging. Very often very quickly we come back and again redo it, undo it and reflect upon it. So, it can occur simultaneously, it can occur before it can occur after subsequently after the whole task. So that ultimately we take the substance of this whole exercise as a matter of forward transfer. That means, we can take we can extract and take this substance or essence of this whole exercise to apply it in the future form of problem solving. So, that means, we are often engaged in metacognition at different points of time while we are engaged in solving different problems, and at the end we try to take the essence, extract the essence of the whole exercise, cognitive exercise, and to use it, to reuse it in future learning situation, that is called the forward transfer. So, both the metacognition and cognition involves the same processes. only differ in the topic of learner thinks about. So, cognition and metacognition actually it involves the same kind of cognitive processes. For example, in cognition we focus on the problem. Problem is the content right now. So, we are thinking about the problem, how to solve it. So, for that solution, for getting that solution, we have formulated certain hypothesis, strategies, etc. So, now our focus is on content or problems. So, here the cognitive processes are the same, but the focus is topic. Okay. So, when we are engaged in reflecting upon or in metacognition, again our focus process remains the same, the focus changes as the content changes. Here we are evaluating our own cognitive processes or strategies we have adopted. So, here our content becomes our own strategies or hypothesis we have formulated for that problem. Okay. The content, the focus changes, but the processes, cognitive processes remains the same. Hence, the metacognitive processes, as in both the metacognition and the cognition, the cognitive processes are same, only the focus changes, that is the topic, the content changes. In one situation we are focusing on the content as the problem as the content, in another situation in metacognition we focus on our own strategies or hypothesis, that becomes our content. So, in research both these terms share the same general paradigm. So, in any way this metacognition or the cognition are not two different processes, processes are same, only the content or the focus changes, the topic changes. So, in research also both these terms share the same general paradigm, like it both these terms are being taken into the same paradigm of knowing or understanding the cognitive mechanisms of how the cognition and metacognition unfolds are the same. So, similar research is also going on, like how these two processes, metacognition process and the cognition processes are being unfolded, and how these processes are similar even though the content, the topic or the focus is different. So, the research is going on and the theories and the principles of both are overlapping as well. So even metacognition also follows certain the principles of learning and cognition. Similarly, cognition also follows the same principles of learning and understanding. So, the theories and principles of both the things are overlapping as well. So, now we will discuss about metacognition of different forms of knowledge. So, metacognition, as you know, is it's a high level of cognitive process. When it evaluates our own cognitive process, it's a higher level of cognitive process, higher order thinking we can say. So, how this metacognition takes place with different forms of knowledge? Primarily, there are three forms of knowledge. One is declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge and the conditional knowledge. Declarative knowledge primarily deals with the factual knowledge, the informations, the facts, the data, which you can explain in statements, that this in terms of the information data. So, this is a declarative knowledge. Procedural knowledge means know-hows, the process, the underlying mechanisms, the processes like process of solving a problem, process of doing the math, process of demonstrating certain skills. So, it is the know-hows, procedural knowledge. Conditional knowledge is that in which context, in which condition, in which context, how to blend declarative knowledge and the procedural knowledge for getting the solution or for effectively using the strategies for resolving the issues. So, that is the conditional knowledge which gives us a feedback about in which context, under which condition, how to use declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge effectively. So, let us discuss about how metacognition takes place in these forms of knowledge. So, metacognition about declarative knowledge. Declarative knowledge, that means like the primarily deals with the domain knowledge, facts, information, self-efficacy, the learner's self-efficacy, own self-efficacy in the sense that the learner's self-belief about his own abilities, capabilities, what he can do, what he can handle, how difficult problem he can solve, his knowledge about his own efficiency and capabilities. So, then again this knowledge can be verbalized in the form of declarative statements. So, when we openly declare that yes, I can do this, or these are the facts, the knowledge, the data I know, these are the informations, this is that means when we explain the theory, etc. So, in terms of the domain knowledge, in terms of facts and information, and in terms of our own self efficacy, when we declare that yes, I will be able to do this and that things, in terms of the declarative statements, that knowledge is called the declarative knowledge as well. It also includes the beliefs about a task and its context. Again, when we come across a particular kind of problem, and when we evaluate that problem or the task, in which context it is embedded, so and the judgment about the applicability of the particular strategies, like we give certain options, we hypothesize certain things, estimates of what one needs to know, and in order to solve, suppose it is a mechanical problem, it is a electrical problem, it is a biological problem, or it is an instrumental problem, what kind of problem, and in that context what kind of knowledge and skills are required to solve that problem, or to resolve that issue, etc. So, when we openly state about that in order to solve this problem, resolve this issue, etc., we need to have this kind of skills, potentialities, knowledge, domain knowledge, etc., etc. This is all about the declarative knowledge, and in that context how metacognition plays a role. So, it may not always predict the actual learning outcomes, but now in this particular context we are trying to apply our knowledge, our skills, our experiences, past experiences in resolving certain issues embedded in a particular context, but we cannot ensure about its outcome, what would be the outcome, we cannot 100% accurate in predicting the learning outcomes. Similarly, procedural knowledge, in procedural knowledge how metacognition takes place, like the knowledge of the processes and actions for addressing a task, that is if it is a problem, when we take up a problem, or the problem can be a abstract problem, theoretical problem, a mathematical problem, real life problem, social problem, financial problem, whatever may be the problem. So, while resolving that problem, that issue, that task, while addressing this task, the mechanisms of the knowledge and processes and actions, the steps of action plans we design, the steps we want to, we should follow, we should execute, we should implement, and then all kinds of know-hows, how it will take place, how it will proceed, what will be the its shortcomings or the problems we may face in this process. So, all these know-hows about the processes, the mechanism, underlying mechanism of resolving a problem or resolving a task, this is all about the metacognition. Then in that case, in this procedural knowledge, metacognition takes place. That means we keep on evaluating our own know-hows and continuously map it to what extent these are accurate, actually these are effective. So, through experience and practice, it can become automatic in familiar problem solving situation. The more and more we become experienced with that kind of task, with that problem, with resolving that kind of problems. So, with accumulating experience and mastery and the practice, number of practices, gradually it becomes more automatic, more automatized. That means we have completely absorbed that, and out of our experience and rigorous practice and mastery, as automatically, that means effortlessly we can do it. That is, it becomes more automatic in similar family problem solving situation. For example, like a vehicle mechanic, a car mechanic, or motor mechanic. So, out of his 20 years experience or 15 experience and experience of dealing with the different kinds of models, different kinds of the cars, different companies, mechanisms, there are all kinds of experience has helped him in gaining the knowledge and experience which enables him to become effortless, spontaneous in resolving some of the critical regular problems that he faces in the profession, in his job. So, it becomes more automatic, familiar, smooth in our similar problem solving situation. Highly automatized behavior involves implicit and internalized behavior without conscious control. Like when it becomes at most automatic, in the sense that not only we have rigorously practiced it, we have also, that means you can say we have developed a certain kind of competency. Not only that mechanically you have learned it, we have experienced it, we have completed the task, but in the whole process of doing the things, performing the whole thing for the last 12 years, 20 years, 15 years, whatever. Not only we have acquired the experience, but also we have acquired the mastery over that skill, over that performance, and again not only mastery and mastery the skills, but we have also thought about it. We have flexibly analyzed the whole thing. So, we have put our intellect also, that is called, we have developed the competency as well. So, where in that cases it becomes more automatized in our system, your behavioral system. So, it becomes more implicit and internalized behavior. That means, our system, our brain has totally adopted that whole mechanism. So, it becomes an involuntary mechanism of our system, like without conscious control, or without that means it has already become involuntary, more automatic in nature, because our system has completely absorbed it. Not only we have experienced it and mastery and have acquired the mastery over that, but we have also developed certain competencies at the higher cognitive level, so which helped us in absorbing the whole thing in our system. So, automatically now it has become highly automatic, means more involuntary, automatic, because we have completely internalized the whole things. Then learning designs should make the procedural knowledge more explicit. Learning design should make the procedural knowledge more explicit and externalized to facilitate the metacognition. So, therefore, what it implies is that our learning designs are the pedagogical designs or the content designs, etc., modules, so that we design for particular kind of topic, etc. It should make the procedural knowledge more explicit. So, when we are solving the problem, it is not about the answer to that problem, solution to that problem, but how we are gradually approaching that problem, trying to solve it, proceed it towards the solution. So, that procedural knowledge is also equally important, and our learning design should explicitly explain it, demonstrate it, show it and externalize it. So, that is why in the classrooms or the teaching learning problems, the tutor should explicitly elaborate on it and metacognitively analyze, in the sense that by asking why it has not happened in that way, by asking various questions, evaluating the various alternative approaches to that problem. So, by asking different questions, having the dialogue about different conditions, approach, etc., we need to explicitly elaborate on it, explicitly externalize the whole solution, the process of the solution, the procedural knowledge, and to make it to facilitate the metacognition. When the tutor, the coach, the teacher himself demonstrates it, so it enables the learner to think actively, and it helps him in his own metacognitive activities. So, while solving another problem in future, he himself, the student himself, will be engaged in metacognitive activities like the teacher was doing in the last class, and he will also start thinking in a critical way, to ask himself many more questions, to evaluate the approach, evaluate his strategies, evaluate the approaches he has adopted for solving that problem. So, the explicit analysis and explicit demonstration of these procedural knowledge definitely helps metacognition. So, similarly, the conditional knowledge, again conditional knowledge is that knowing about when and why the declarative procedural knowledge are relevant to the task. That means, under which condition and in which context, why the declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge, or the combination of both the things, are relevant for solving a particular task. That means, how to select the effective strategies for getting the solution of a problem, and how it combines both the procedural knowledge and the declarative knowledge, and in which context it proves to be relevant and effective. So, to know the factors that affect the learning, again besides these knowledge, domain knowledge and the procedural knowledge, declarative knowledge and the procedural knowledge, what are the other factors that affect the learning? and sensitivity to the task, context and the strategy selection for solving the problems. So, here in conditional knowledge also, while analyze and metacognition plays an active role in enhancing our awareness, in enhancing our sensitivity to the task. That means, how sensitive the task is, and for solving this problem or the task, which situation and context or environment will be most suitable, will be optimum, and in that particular context which strategy should be selected and adopted and applied. So, for solving the problems. So, under which condition and how to identify the problem suitable for that, how to identify the problem and its solution, like the strategies and the approach most suitable for that problem solving behavior in a particular context, and how to develop that sensitivity. It also helps, it also being developed by this metacognition. So, metacognition in the while using the conditional knowledge enables or empowers us in selecting a problem, or when we face a problem, encounter a problem, we also develop a kind of sensitivity to the relevance, relevance of that context and the strategy that we should select, and how to resolve it, and how to resolve that complex problem, and again how to apply apply the solutions, the mechanisms, or what the knowledge that we have gained out of that in future situation. So, here metacognition in conditional knowledge helps us in developing the sensitivity towards the task, sensitivity towards the problem, the complexity of the problem, the context under which it should be attended, it should be resolved, and the appropriate selection of the strategy. So, this kind of sensitivity, this kind of factors affecting the learning, or this kind of the core factors, the situational factors, contextual factors, other resources, strategies, that kind of awareness, sensitivity develops as a result of metacognition being applied in the conditional knowledge. So, now we stop here. Next class, we will continue with this metacognition only, its benefits in different learning situation. Now, thank you for the time.